The Judean Wilderness, 30 AD. A place where the sun is relentless, the nearest cafe is non-existent, and the only thing standing between you and starvation is your willingness to eat whatever God puts in front of you. For one man, God apparently put locusts in front of him. Quite a lot of locusts. Welcome to Chef of the Ancients. Ancient recipes, modern kitchen, questionable decisions. And today's decision, is this bag of insects right here? To understand why John the Baptist ate locusts, you must first understand the world he lived in. Ancient Judea was not short of food. Markets were full of figs, dates, olives, lentils, and fish. But John was not a market person. John was a wilderness person. A man who had, deliberately and with great conviction, walked away from civilization and its creature comforts. Matthew 3:4. One of the most matter-of-fact dietary disclosures in all of Scripture. No explanation, no apology. Locusts and wild honey. That's your man. What Matthew neglects to mention is how he ate them. Raw? Roasted? With a side of existential certainty? These are the questions that keep food historians up at night. These are also, now, my problems. Here is the first thing that surprises people. Locusts were not a desperation food. Under Levitical law, Leviticus 11:22, locusts, crickets, and grasshoppers were explicitly listed as clean, permissible, kosher even. They were eaten across the ancient Near East, dried, roasted, ground into flour, and boiled in stews. Archaeologists have found locust remains in cooking deposits across the Jordan Valley, dating back over 3,000 years. So John wasn't being dramatic, he was just eating local. And here is where John the Baptist becomes genuinely embarrassing to the modern fitness industry. A dried locust contains approximately 60 grams of protein per 100 grams. That is nearly 3 times the protein density of a chicken breast. John the Baptist, wandering the desert in a camel hair coat, was running on what modern sports dietitians would recognize as a near-perfect high-protein, high-energy macro split. He didn't have a gym, he didn't have a protein shake, he had bugs and honey, and he was, by all accounts, absolutely terrifying to look at. I respect him enormously. Step 1. Source the ingredients. Should be simple. My local supermarket does not, it turns out, stock edible locusts. I checked 3 times. I asked someone. They looked at me the way people look at you when you have made a social error. In John's time, locusts were harvested directly from the wilderness, gathered by hand during the early morning when they are slower and heavier with dew. They were then dried in the sun or over fire, which preserved them for weeks. It was, in its own way, elegant, sustainable, 0 food miles, entirely free. I ordered mine online, 2-day shipping, £6.50. They look exactly like what they are. There is, I want to be clear, no getting around this. They smell faintly of toasted grain, with something underneath that I am choosing not to examine too closely. For the honey, John would have harvested wild honeycomb directly from rock crevices, a practice documented throughout the ancient Near East and referenced repeatedly in Scripture. Raw, unfiltered, deeply aromatic. Our honey is sourced from a local beekeeper, unfiltered, unprocessed, still in the comb. This part I feel genuinely good about. Here is everything we need: dried locusts, wild honeycomb, sea salt, and dried hyssop, a herb native to the region and documented in ancient Israelite cooking, because even prophets deserve seasoning. 3 ingredients. No equipment John didn't have, no technique he wouldn't recognize. Let's go. Step 1. Dry pan, no oil. John the Baptist did not have olive oil on his person in the wilderness, and honestly, at this point, I'm trying to honor the man. The Maillard reaction, the same chemical process that makes toast golden and steak delicious, works on insect exoskeletons exactly as it does on conventional protein. The shell crisps, the fat inside the body renders slightly, and the smell, remarkably, is of roasted nuts. I was not prepared for that smell to be good. I want to be honest with you about that. 4 to 5 minutes over medium-high heat. You're looking for deep amber, not burnt, not pale. The legs will start to crisp at the tips. The wings, yes, I'm keeping the wings on. John didn't debone his locusts, and neither will I. The wings turn translucent and light. You will know they're ready when they sound hollow when you tap them, like little empty armored knights. Salt. Hyssop. That's your seasoning. Hyssop has a mild, minty, slightly bitter flavour. It grows wild across the Judean hills and was used in ancient Israelite purification rituals. Using it to season insects feels simultaneously deeply spiritual and deeply unhinged. And now, the counterpoint to everything that has just happened. The wild honey. Raw honeycomb honey is fundamentally different to processed supermarket honey. It retains pollen, propolis, and beeswax, all of which have documented antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. In the ancient world, honey was both food and medicine. Wounds were dressed with it, illnesses were treated with it. And here is where everything changes. The honey hits the warm pan. It caramelizes very slightly at the edges. It coats each locust in a thin amber glaze. And the smell that comes up, roasted, sweet, nutty, with that herbal hyssop underneath, is genuinely extraordinary. I did not expect to say that sentence today, and yet. Honey-roasted locusts with wild hyssop. John the Baptist's daily meal. In front of me. On my counter. Right then. I have been staring at this for 45 seconds. I am aware that is not a long time in the grand scale of things. John the Baptist ate these every day for years. The least I can do is pick one up without doing a documentary about it. It crunches like a prawn cracker, a slightly nuttier, slightly smokier prawn cracker, coated in the best honey I have ever tasted. That's it, that's the flavour. Nutty, smoky, sweet, a tiny hint of something mineral underneath. Earthy, almost like mushroom. And then the honey just rounds everything off, like it was designed to go together. Which, I suppose, it was. I took a second one before I finished thinking about the first one. I want you to sit with that information. The combination, locust and raw honeycomb together, no plate, just both in your hand at the same time, is the closest thing I can describe to what John would have actually experienced. No ceremony, no presentation, just protein and energy, eaten standing up in the middle of somewhere important. It tastes like something that means something. John the Baptist subsisted on this diet, locusts and wild honey, for years in the Judean Wilderness. Modern nutritional modelling suggests he would have consumed between 50 and 80 grams of complete protein daily. Adequate caloric energy, significant B vitamins, iron and zinc from the locusts, antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory compounds from the raw honey. By any clinical measure, he was eating well. John the Baptist was, without intending to be, an elite-level nutritional optimizer. He had no gym, no coach, no supplement budget. He had a desert and a very specific set of convictions. And apparently that was enough. I ate all of them. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't. If you had told me this morning that I would willingly finish a plate of roasted insects and then consider making more, I would have been deeply skeptical of you as a person. And yet, here we are. John the Baptist was a man who had something to say, and he needed all his energy to say it. Turns out, he'd figured out how to fuel himself perfectly. With whatever the desert gave him. I came here to make content. I think I accidentally learned something. Subscribe. And if you try this at home, I genuinely want to know what face you made on the first bite. Chef of the ancients, because someone has to do this.